My computer itself seemed to think that my internet connection was fine. All the little numbers were coming up properly on the connection, but I couldn't open web pages, so we couldn't carry on with the rally. This went on for most of that last week, and we were obviously dropping quite far behind, so I'm thinking if we don't get this connection back, we're not going to be able to continue with the rally and we're going to lose. About 6 hours before the end of the competition on the final day, the internet connection came back just as mysteriously as it'd gone. So that's another really weird thing happening there. The internet connection's gone down, and that's something that never happens. So it comes back. We've dropped quite low down. We're right off the leaderboard. We're down in probably 13th, 15th place. So I spent that entire 6 hours racing on behalf of Nat to try and crawl ourselves back up through this competition. And over the 6 hour period, I did come back up, but I got to 3rd place. Not good enough. And the competition finished. For 3rd place, oddly enough, I won this, which is my iPod Touch. That was my prize for getting in 3rd place. Now, I'd been focusing on owning an iPod Touch. I didn't know where it was going to come from. I'd been using my friends, pretending it was mine. I'd tuned into the feeling of having one, but I let it be okay if it didn't. I didn't care where it come from. And by coming 3rd, we got the iPod Touch. But that wasn't really what we were looking for. We'd been so focused on owning this car and it being ours that we couldn't believe that it hadn't happened. We got the house we wanted, we'd got the holidays that we'd been focused on, and countless other things using the same process, so why hadn't it worked? Now, we were so sure that it should have worked that we expected Alpha to phone us up a couple of days later and say there's been a mistake, the people in the first 2 positions have been caught cheating and you are the rightful winners. And actually during the competition there were a few people who got ridiculously high scores that suddenly jumped to the 1st place and then they'd disappear and be gone, and they certainly was a way that some people were cheating. We had no idea how they were doing it, but we thought there was a possibility that that's what had happened here, which is why we hadn't won the car. That didn't happen, but about a week later we did get a phone call. It was from the Alpha Garage and it was for Nat, and there had been a mistake, which kind of explains a few things, but it wasn't the mistake we expected. When we went to the garage and we said we're here about the competition to win the car, and the guy said, yeah, great, fill in these forms, the form we filled out entered Natalie into a competition to win a car, which was just a raffle. Had nothing whatsoever to do with the rally that was online. It was an entirely different competition. The guys at the shop didn't know about the rally. It was a brand new competition and the head office hadn't told that branch yet. I've got no idea why. It seems like a huge breakdown in communication, but they didn't know about it, the other shop didn't know about it, and the head office had to give them the code for them to give it to us. So that was kind of weird on the day, but this explains what was going on. Nat's name had been put into the raffle. It'd been picked out for the top prize, and the top prize was a metallic black, which is what she wanted, Alfa Romeo Mito for Loss, so the top spec model, the exact car that she placed the Cosmic order for that 2 months previous. So, I mean, that's not the best thing we've ever ordered, but that was a spectacular set of bizarre synchronicities that led to this order to arrive. So when you do this, when you focus on what you desire, what's going to happen is at a deeply subconscious level, you'll prepare yourself, and the universe will prepare itself, which is just an extension of you really, in order for this thing to get to you. For us, what had to happen? First of all, there was going to be a competition to win the car through a raffle, and we needed to be able to attract ourselves to that. So we found that by going online, finding the competition for the rally, going to the garage. A little bit of a misunderstanding meant that we was entered into the raffle by mistake. The internet connection then went down, which meant we couldn't win the competition online. And we later found out if we had won that, because they were both run by the Alpha Garage, if we'd have won the car in one competition, which wasn't really the one we wanted, first of all, we wouldn't have got the iPod Touch, and then secondly, we wouldn't have been allowed to win the car in the other competition. We'd have been dropped down into 2nd place because they weren't going to give 2 top prizes away to the same person. So this meant that we wouldn't have got exactly what we wanted. We wouldn't have got the black car, the top spec model. We'd have got a slightly lower spec model, which was red, and we wouldn't have got the iPod Touch. So a bizarre set of circumstances. I mean, the most weird was the internet going down. My internet's never gone down before or since, and my computer and my internet service provider were both convinced that it was fine. But as we went through this process, that led us to the eventual result, which was Nat winning the car. So let's just recap how we did it. First of all, pretty much every single day, she tuned into the emotions of already owning the car. So as Neville says, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When she was driving her car, she imagined she was driving the Alpha. She meditated at home and imagined that it was outside the window. She just hallucinated it in the drive. She imagined showing it to her dad. We imagined it on every sensory perception, so we imagined seeing it. We imagined hearing other people congratulate us for winning the competition and expressing their amazement that we'd done it. We imagined our own thoughts and feelings about how we felt that we'd won this car. Natalie imagined getting a phone call telling us she'd won the car. Now that's a weird one, because if we'd won the rally on the internet, we would have just known straight away we was the winners, because we'd have been in top position at the end, and we'd have probably had to go to the garage to be presented with a prize. But it didn't happen that way. We actually got a phone call just as she'd imagined it to tell us she'd won the raffle. And when she did the imagination, one of the things that she did was to imagine that she was surprised when the person on the other end of the phone said, "You've won a car." Now that's quite strange, because if we'd won the rally, we would have known quite a bit up front that we were the winners, because there was a leaderboard. We wouldn't have been surprised. It would have been a total expected thing. So when the person would have phoned up and said, "Hey, you are the winners, come and collect it," that wouldn't have been a surprise for us. It would have been an expected call. Yeah, the call she got was a surprise, and that's one of the things she focused on. So there's all these things from internally, whilst meditating, that she imagined every day that created that car for her, using different modalities. Now that's important because it absorbs your entire senses. She really tuned into this. Then the next step, imagining that you've got it on a physical level. So as Seth stays in The Nature of Physical Reality, you create it subconsciously through meditation, by creating it internally, not subconsciously, internally. So you're creating the representation of it within your mind by tuning into this in meditation and completely associating with it and feeling like it's yours. And then you validate this by taking a physical action that says, yes, we got this car. And in this case, the physical action was flashing our lights or beeping our horn at other people that had got the car. One of the things we didn't do that I did suggest that you could do was to get the key fob. We never did that. That would be a great thing to do. One of the other things we didn't do until quite a bit into the competition was to, into the order, was to go and take a test drive in one of the cars. It was ridiculous that we didn't. That should have been right at the beginning. So what I'll say to you, do the meditations, take the physical action by changing your key fob and flashing your lights at other people that have got the car, take a test drive and tune into it. Then the next most important thing was that sense of detachment. Let it be okay if it doesn't happen. So yeah, you've got a car already. I'd like this one, it'd be cool, but it's okay if I don't get it. But tune into how it would feel to have it without desperation. So there's a sense of detachment there. That is vitally important. Once you've gone through this process, then you've got to have faith. You've got to truly trust and believe that all these things are happening, all these things are taking place, and just have total faith and belief that it's going to happen. Because, I mean, you've probably, if you've watched The Secret, you're going to have seen this already. When you do this, when you place a cosmic order, or you're using the law of attraction, which is essentially the same thing, to be able to create something in your life, it's like you've planted a seed, and that seed's got to grow. And when you plant a seed in a garden, that's the surface of the soil, and the seed's down here underground, and from up here we can see nothing appears to have happened. Yet beneath the surface, the seed needs to germinate, needs to spread out a network of roots, and then when it starts to grow, it's not until this point that consciously, from above the ground, we can see anything. This is exactly the same with cosmic ordering. Everything happens at a subconscious level. The universe is arranging the events that are going to bring this thing to you before you get it. Now, when it starts to happen, this is a really useful tool that you can use, and I've talked about this in another video. When you start to get physical evidence that the car's coming to you, you'll start to see indications of it. So you might get something through the post that's got that car on it. You might see lots more of these other cars around your physical environment. You might see an advert for it. They will just become, you'll become more aware of them in your physical reality. Every time you see this or this happens, what I want you to imagine is you've got a rope, and you winning the car is on the other end of the rope. And all these little indications are things that are indicating it's on its way to you. And when you notice them and you say, the car's on its way, and tune into them, that's like you're pulling on the rope and you're bringing it closer. Now, if you want to, this is particularly, this kind of thing, this rope and these signals, this works really well with money. If you want to attract a certain amount of money into your life and then you find a 5p on the floor, see that 5p is the end of the rope. And then if you get a cheque through the post, one of those fake specimen cheques that you get attached to a competition that says you've won £100,000 or whatever, see that as the end of the rope. Recognise it as a communication from the cosmos or from your subconscious mind that says, I've not forgotten about you, I'm placing that order, I'm just sending you this 5 pence or this fake cheque, just to remind you that it's on its way. And then carry on pulling the rope, and by pulling it, the way you pull it is by having faith and belief and